So welcome everybody. This is our webinar on training for new JustFaith facilitators. It's good to have you on the webinar with us, and we hope this is useful for you as you approach the start times of your groups, and hope that the information in the webinar will allow you to facilitate much easier than you would have before the webinar. So that is certainly our hope. My name is Susie Tierney, and I'm the Director of Organizing for JustFaith Ministries. And I'd just like to give a brief overview of where we're headed today. We're going to go over resource ordering as well as promotion materials. We're going to look at planning sessions, session outlines, and we're going to say a bit about retreats and immersions. So for the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be walking through the JustFaith Ministries webpage because it's a very orderly way of doing this webinar that will hit on some of the major points of facilitation. And then I will unmute everybody that's on this webinar with us and give you an opportunity to ask your questions, things that we didn't cover at the end of the webinar, and we'll have about 10 or 15 minutes for that. So with that introduction, on we go. The very first thing that you'll want to do in the way of the very first thing that I want to point out in the way of training is sometimes when folks register their JustFaith group, they have no idea how to get back on and access their resources. So the very first thing that I would like to point out is just some online tips if you get stumped about where to go for what. Once your JustFaith group is registered with the national office, once somebody has actually purchased the program through us, the way that you access the materials is through the website. So you'll simply go to justfaith.org, and in the upper right-hand corner, I am going to log out here. When you log onto the JustFaith Ministries webpage, typically there will be this gold rectangle here in the upper right-hand corner that says Login. If you click on that, it's going to bring up a prompt for username and password, and you simply enter your username and password that you created. If you did not receive one of these, Susan Chapman can certainly help you, or you may want to visit with your parish or congregation office and ensure that they designated you as a facilitator for the group. If they did, you should have received a email invitation to create an account from JustFaith Ministries, and in that case, you would have created your own username and password, which is what I just put in the prompts there. So that is where you go when you want to log into your account. You can certainly have it remember you, and then when you go back into the website at any point, you're going to go up here to the upper right-hand corner, and you'll be able to get into your account. Once you click on your account, it will pull up this page, and these rectangles are just simply the programs that you have ordered. You will likely just have whatever program you're facilitating, so you may only have a JustFaith rectangle on your page. You just click right in the middle of that rectangle. It will bring up this beautiful thing that we call the Facilitator resource page. That really has every single thing that you need to facilitate the session. I'm scrolling through here very rapidly so you can kind of get a sense of what's on that page, but we're going to break it down a little bit here and go through it little by little. One of the first things that I want to point out is on the left-hand side of the screen, you have active roster. These are the people who are already in the group. These are likely the people who have been designated as facilitators for the group. In this case, I need to invite participants into the group, people who are registering for your group. By inviting them in, it's really super important to do that because of 3 or 4 different reasons. Number one, it will create a roster for you. As people create their own accounts, it actually will create the roster for you. Number two, it lets us know who is in the groups and who is, taking Just Faith across the country. That's really important information for us. Number three, it allows participants to access all of their participant documents and links to videos and other supplemental resources. And it could spare you a lot of time and heartache in terms of making copies and such things like that. So to invite participants is just really huge. Anybody that has access to the web and anybody that can do this, it's really helpful if they do. You simply click on that invite participants right there. It's going to bring this page up that simply asks for an email address. So for every one of your participants, you're just going to type in their email. I'm going to use my colleague Susan's email address here. If Susan was co-facilitating with me, I would come to the right here and click on this designate as a facilitator. As long as this is unchecked, the only things that the participants will get access to is the participant documents and on their very own page. Once you've entered everybody in the group's email address in there, and you can certainly come back and add people later, or if you have more than the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces here, you can add another invite there and put in another email address. Once you click send invitations, what it will do is prompt us to send those folks an email and inviting them to create their own accounts so that we can get them access to the participant web page. And as I said, that creates an automatic roster for you as well. So that's a really useful tool to know about, and a lot of people get confused about how to invite people into the group once they've said, yes, I'll participate. So that's the way to do it. As far as program, the next thing I want to point out is ordering books and videos and other resources for the program. You'll see it's one of the very first sections on your facilitator page here. If you are getting ready to start the groups in September and you just want to order resources for phases 1 and 2, you simply come over here to the right and click View Link. That will pull up the page on our Just Faith Ministries bookstore that will give you the list of resources all right here that are used in phases 1 and 2 of the Just Faith program. The way that you order any of these resources is just to simply click on Add to Cart, whichever one of these things you want. I'm going to use this as an example and say that I want to order these first 3 books. I'm going to add each of them to my cart. Once I have them added to my cart, I'm going to go up here, and just like any of you who have ever been on a department store website, you're going to look for your little cart basket up here, shopping cart. Click on that. On this first page of the bookstore, it's just simply going to be the resources that you want that you click on. This next screen is where you actually change the quantities that you need. So if you have 6 people in your group, you change each one of these, just arrow up or down to 6. And then it's important that you click Update Cart right here. Not only will that update the totals you'll see on the right, but it'll update the shipping and the cost and everything else, and it'll map it out for you right there. And then, of course, you proceed to the checkout. You can order with a credit card or check. I can tell you ordering with a credit card is much more expeditious, but you can certainly order with a check as well. So anyway, so that's just a brief sort of tutorial on ordering books and resources. In case that's something that you will need to do for your own groups. And again, here's the link to get to the resources for phases 3 and 4 as well. The next thing I want to do is go over some of the promotional materials that we have available. If you are still promoting in your congregations or parishes, here are a number of promotional resources that could come in handy as you do last minute promotion for fall groups. We have a customizable full page flyer for the Just Faith program. And by customizable, I'm clicking on here because I want you to see anywhere where there's a light blue square, you can actually type in your local information, which is really handy. All the rest of the information is static, but you can type in the blue squares where you're offering groups, your own contact information, that kind of thing. So that customizable flyer is great. There's also a half sheet flyer as well. There's a sample session for Just Faith, session overview. These are also on the website. There's a brief information meeting outline that really gives a solid overview of what the expectations are, what the components are of the Just Faith program, all in a 15 to 20 minute meeting outline. There's a sample Each One Reach One campaign, and that is just simply inviting Just Faith graduates in your parishes or congregations to invite others to the program. There's some social media post samples, bulletin announcements, and then sample newspaper or community page announcements for to reach maybe a more secular audience. The language is a little bit different for the newspapers. So those are some resources all in one place that you can access for promotion as you continue to assemble your groups this fall. Remembering that the Just Faith groups it's a small group process, so group sizes are 8 to 12 is the average. Of course, we have had folks that have had a one or two less across the country, and we've had folks that have had one or two more. But it's designed to be a small group process, 8 to 12 people in a group. So the next thing I want to go to is this wonderful section right here with some overall facilitator planning materials. This very first document, Facilitating Just Faith, is a document. I'm just clicking on the right-hand side, and then the file comes up on the bottom of my computer here, and then I just click at the bottom to open it. This really gives an overall sort of outline of the program elements and just a broad stroke of the program components and what's in the program. So that's pretty useful. Online training webinar resources. This is a new thing that Susan and I have been working on. We have a number of training videos, and many of them are quick 2 to 3 minute training videos. There's one, let me just give you an example, on our website under resources. Let me just, I'm going to pull up under Explore Resources here. On the left-hand side, Facilitator Training, if you click on that, there are just a number of videos that you can watch here on how to log in, how to create accounts. Here's a couple of videos on how to facilitate a difficult conversation. And these are just 2 to 3 minute little short videos with some practical tips. Ideas and opportunities for guest speakers, planning successful immersion experiences. So those are some of the kinds of resources that are on that facilitator training page. So that is really useful link right here in the way of just getting some quick information about how to do certain things. There's a Just Faith planner. This planner gives you an outline that you can fill in that actually provides, and I'm hoping you all can still see my page here, that provides an outline of the phases, what the particular topic is of each phase, and each session in that phase, and then it has blank spots for the time and the location of your meetings and the date. So This is really helpful in terms of filling out the dates and times um, for your group meetings, and to get just a really big picture sort of session focus. Session 16, Wealth and Work, is the focus. Um, so, so that's a really helpful document that you can use there to just map out the dates and times of your meetings and get a a couple word focus for that particular meeting. Here's a program outline. I'm going to download this as well. And again, when I click on download over here, on a lot of computers, the actual document's going to come up on the bottom in the left-hand corner of your screen. This is my favorite document for facilitators, because what this document does is it beautifully maps out the program and allows you to stay ahead of what you need for each of the sessions, and gives you prompts in a quick, at a glance look. So for example, session number 1, it gives you sort of an overview of what you're going to do in that session. It's primarily introductions to each other and to the idea of compassion. What do you need? Your planning notes. It tells you need a TV and DVD player, a computer with internet access, digital projector, and speakers for the computer so that people can hear, and you're actually going to have a TED Talk that night. Since it's your very first meeting, there is no reading assignment yet. But this beautiful document allows you to look at a glance and begin planning for things like this, session number 2. Begin planning for your guest speaker for session number 4. And then it gives you all the reading assignments. It tells you out in this last column here, resources. It actually gives you the resources that you're going to need, all of the resources that you're going to need in that phase. So this is phase 1, and this is all the resources you need for that phase. You get down to phase 2 on the right-hand side. That's all the resources you'll need for phase 2. So this is a beautiful document, and I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and print that one out because it is so useful to keep you on track and to keep you ahead of planning for guest speakers and other audio-visual needs that you'll need for the meetings. Here's a guidebook on the Journey to Justice Day, which is a part of the program. I'm not going to click on that, but that is an outline for that Journey to Justice Day. Here's a document on immersion experiences. There's lots of tips in here about useful immersion experiences, as well as, how you line those up and what's the ideal way of doing that. Here's a document on dialogue and active listening. This particular document really highlights how to make sure that the group maintains a dialogue mode and doesn't, slip into, debate, or helps give some tips about facilitating conversation in a way that keeps it respectful to everybody in the group. So that's just a wonderful document that you could use for any program that you're facilitating, much less JustFaith. There's a participant welcome letter template here. I'm going to click on that one, and you can just see that this is, get off some of these. I'm going to close a couple of these documents here so that we can, let's see. There we go. Participant welcome letter here. It tells people what they will need for the first meeting, what to come prepared with, and those kinds of things. And it's a template that you can tweak and use as needed. And then this is just a getting started document. It helps with some of the preliminary, tips for the overall program itself. So this section is really super helpful in terms of breaking the program down in a way that makes it doable, and resources that you need as you need them. But you can also read these all ahead of time as well. There's some pre-program surveys and post-program surveys. I'm not going to click on those, but all I can say is when you send these out, the participants will have these on their participant pages as well. anytime you can prompt participants or anytime you can do the surveys yourselves, it is really useful to us because we do take that feedback super seriously and we incorporate feedback. When we start hearing themes from people across the country, we incorporate changes in our program based on those themes. So your feedback is always important, and that's what these survey links here are for. Again, the participants, when they register and can access their own participant webpage, they will get those links to the surveys as well. So here is the Just Faith opening retreat. I'm going to say a few words now about the opening retreat, and then we'll go over a session. And I'll also talk a little bit about the closing retreat, which has a really similar format as well. Everything you need to facilitate the opening retreat is provided in this outline. And what I mean by that is you don't have to make anything up. You don't have to dream anything up. You don't have to find prayers. You don't have to do anything like that. The entire program, the entire opening retreat and the closing retreat is scripted. And it tells you exactly what you need right here in this retreat document. It gives you an entire litany of things that you'll need for that retreat. And you can literally collect these items and check them off. It gives you an overview of the entire retreat, where it gives you the timing of each particular exercise, how much time you'll spend on it, when you do breaks, what the timing of the overall retreat is. It is a Friday evening. It's a Saturday, almost a full day on Saturday, both the morning and the afternoon. And then, as you can see, it really tells you in each section here everything you need for that particular section of the retreat. So this right here is the very opening prayer for the retreat. It gives you the timing again right here. It gives you the items needed. It even gives you a tip about how to set the environment for that retreat. And then it actually gives you the scriptures, the prayers, the prompts for when to light things, when to move things, when to pass things. And then it gives you all of the tips and then moves you to the very next item on the agenda, how long it's going to take, and again, gives you prompts right here. So this is the entire format for the opening retreat, and it literally, you just follow this script. Now, a couple of things that I will say about the opening retreat, some tips that I will offer you. First of all, anytime you're hunting down materials and you literally can't find something, or don't really want to go out and buy one of these materials that's listed on here, feel free to find something that's similar. Our expectation isn't that you're going to spend a whole lot of money drumming up these prayer props. As you know, if you've participated in Just Faith, there's some sort of prayer item that's passed in almost every session. And so if you don't have access to that particular item, we don't expect people to run out to the store and buy stuff. Borrow it from a friend or a neighbor if you can, or bring something that's compatible with that particular item. But feel free to adapt if you don't have the particular item that's called for a session or for a prayer. Let me give you an example. At one point in the Just Faith program, when I was facilitating last, there was a session that invited the facilitators to bring a stethoscope, and that was the prayer symbol that was passed around the group that day. Well, shy of you being a doctor or a nurse or knowing somebody directly that works in healthcare, most of us don't have stethoscopes laying around the house. So I did have one facilitator who was especially creative, and she brought one of her daughter's Doc McStuffins stethoscope sets to a group. So in that case, feel free to use something that's symbolic of the stethoscope without going out and purchasing a stethoscope. So do know you have that flexibility. Also, even though everything in the opening retreat is scripted, the prayer suggestions are there, the music suggestions are there. If you have a music suggestion that you feel like will work even better with your group on this particular retreat, feel free to insert that. So there is some room for, you know, I wouldn't say, adapt too much of the overall format of the retreat, certainly, but there is room for bringing in prayers or music that is maybe more appropriate for your particular group, or will resonate more with the members of your group. So that's the opening retreat. Let me go back here to our main page. And I'm going to pull up now a session. Here is JustFaith session 1. I'm going to click on that, and again it comes up in the bottom of my screen. And again, just like the opening retreat, every single session has a checklist of everything you need for that session. It has a list of everything that the participants themselves are going to need to bring. And it's going to have the timing that you're going to dedicate to each part of the session. You're going to spend 10 minutes on opening prayer, 50 minutes on personal introductions, and then take a break, business items, reconnecting with compassion. You'll see in every session there's a note to facilitators that kind of gives some helpful information or some introductory information to that session. Again, it will give you your prayer items that are needed here, and the prayers and the script and the prompts. Then it will give you the personal introductions here on the very first session. Break. Business items. Every single meeting will have this section here with business items. This is the opportunity to give people heads up about reading assignments. It tells you exactly what reading assignments to give there. To give people heads up about upcoming immersion experiences, to give people heads up about whatever it is you need to give people heads up about in this section here. And then here's the TED Talk that goes with the very first meeting. It even gives you some language to introduce the DVDs or the TED Talks right here. And then some questions to prompt discussion after the DVD. Anytime you have a discussion of a reading assignment as well, you're going to have a litany of questions that you can use to prompt discussion. One of the tips that I would give you in terms of the questions that are there to prompt dialogue or discussion around the reading assignments is, in a lot of cases, there will be, 5 or 6 questions, and there is no way that you will ever get to all 5 or 6 of those questions. So the idea is not that you cover every single question that's there to prompt discussion. They are just there to prompt discussion if you need them. They can be used if the group is sort of gone off and is sort of chasing gone down a rabbit hole. It's useful to bring the group back. But there's no expectation that you actually use every question prompt for book discussion. Typically what I do when I'm facilitating is pick 2 or 3 that I think will especially resonate with my group and use those as discussion prompts. So there's that. And every session looks just like that. I'm going to scroll down the page here a little bit and give you a sense of um, some of the things that that you'll be looking at here. Um, so in session 1, it also gives you the link right here. You have a TED Talk in that session 1, and it actually gives you the link directly to the TED Talk. So you don't have to go surfing the web. Susan, my colleague, has done a beautiful job of adding these links directly to the TED Talk so that you don't have to do the work of finding them on the web. You just simply click on that link and it will take you right to the TED Talks or the other online videos. Here's some supplemental reading, and again, it will take you straight to the supplemental reading. You don't have to find any of these things on the web yourself. So every single phase has its own materials with it and the links to get to those materials. I'm going to scroll all the way down. Here's your closing retreat, and then here's your discernment materials at the bottom. Now, let me just say one word about your participant documents. When participants register themselves, when you invite them into the group with their email, like we did at the beginning, and they create their own account, they get a web page that looks, they don't get any of the facilitator documents unless you invite them to get the facilitator documents. But what they get to see is these things. These are the program documents that participants actually see in their on their web page. So this will give you sort of a snapshot of what the participants will see on their page, and you can direct them to those things. Some of the documents are supplemental, and they say that in parentheses behind. And other things, they really want people to view these links in the course of the program for whatever session that they're on. So the last thing that I will say is the immersion experiences. And again, the immersion experiences, here's a document here. I'm going to go back to this document. And in this particular document, it talks about preparing immersion experiences, scheduling them, planning them, how they're designed to be face-to-face encounters. The ideal immersion experiences are ones in which you are simply building a relationship with somebody who is in poverty or somebody who's been marginalized. They're not necessarily service, although they could be. That's always the default. But the ideal immersion experiences are just really trying to facilitate an opportunity for people to be in relationship. So that's what the immersion experiences are. In an ideal world, you would do an immersion experience at the end of every phase. So JustFaith is divided into 4 6-week segments, as you can see in the outline. What we say is phase 1 is the first 6 weeks. Phase 2 is the second 6 weeks, etc. So in the phases themselves, in an ideal world, you would do 1 immersion experience in every phase of the program. That's the ideal. Sometimes it doesn't always work clean enough where you can actually do that. And so, don't be afraid to do the best you can to do the immersion experiences when you can do them for your group. But if at all possible, if you can schedule them so that they're near the end of each of your phases, that kind of keeps them spread out evenly throughout the program as well. So with that, I think it's one of the things that I'm a fan of, and one of the things that I always think is the most crucial about any kind of training is really feeling the questions that you have. So I am going to take folks off of mute here, And I'm going to invite anybody that has questions to ask me questions about how you facilitation needs. So does anybody have any questions? One reminder too, if you have yourself muted, you can also send questions to me via there's a little chat box at the bottom of your webinar screen, and you can send questions that way as well. But questions about accessing documents, about the ebb and flow of sessions or retreats or dynamics of a group or anything like that, I'm happy to field questions.
This is Linda speaking. When I took the JustFaith course in 2007, we did not register online, get a password, and see any of this information. Is this something new?
It is in the last few years, and maybe Susan can speak to how new it is. I can't remember when all of this went on an online web page. Maybe Susan, would you want to chime in?
Yeah, 2 years ago. It went live. This new website went live 2 years ago.
Okay.
One of the benefits of having all of the documents on one page is that you can literally log into the Just Faith Ministries website into your account, like we did at the beginning, and everything you need is right there on one page. The downside, of course, is that of course, you're dealing with technology. So it has been asked, and let me just say that some people are leery of accessing documents online. And you may have participants in your group say, do I really need to register and get online? I'm not tech savvy. I really don't know how to do that. And if you have somebody that can walk them through the process, it would be really great. And that's just simply because there's so much supplemental material on the participant page that you wouldn't want them to miss out on, and they can click links and go to these supplemental videos and materials. And so it's really an awesome way for them to get the documents. More practically, it could save you a lot of time and ink on copies. But worst case scenario, you have somebody that just can't get on just can't create an account for whatever reason. Or we do have a few people across the country who don't even have computers. I mean, not very many, but a few. In that case, you just simply, make copies.
I think if I could get past my anxiety of how complicated it feels, I guess I could encourage people to do that.
Sure.
Hi, Susie. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Alfonso in Los Angeles.
Hi, Alfonso.
Hi, I have a question about unaffiliated groups that maybe aren't affiliated with a church. Do you have any insights that maybe you can share, like maybe any pitfalls that we might want to be aware of to avoid, or any tips for success to host or to facilitate Just Faith with an unaffiliated group, a group that's not attached to a church?
No, not at all. I mean, as long as you have the biggest thing to worry about in that particular instance is location. And, do you have a location where you can consistently meet, or do you have at least an idea about how you can rotate locations? That seems logical. So location in that case would be the biggest thing to look for. The downside of not being connected with a church or religious community and having an unaffiliated group is that in a lot of cases, a congregation or a parish will buffer some of the costs of the program, meaning they'll pay the one-time registration fee, and then they might pay for the videos, and then the participants pay for their books, kind of a thing. If you're unaffiliated, then just know that your group is going to have to sort of, add up all of the costs involved, maybe, and divide it by however many people are in your group.
Gotcha.
That kind of a thing. So otherwise, I can't think of any pitfalls. Just so the folks in your group know that all of Just Faith materials are Christian based. So the prayers are going to be oriented towards the Christian community. And if folks are okay with that, then you shouldn't have any problems.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions? If we don't have any, I'm going to wait just another minute and see if we have any other questions. But if we don't, I'm going to go back and actually log out of my computer, and I'm going to walk through getting online again, just in a little bit slower pace, so that Linda, you can see that process again.
Okay.
It looks more complicated, and that's probably because I went very quickly because I wanted to get us to the documents, but I'm happy to walk through that again. But before I do that, does anybody else have any other questions about the process itself or facilitating or group dynamics?
Susie, this is Joy, and I actually do have a question about the opening retreat. We actually have 2 groups that will be starting in the week of September 11th. So is this opening retreat supposed to happen before session 1?
Oh.
There's been a recent change in the materials where, let me say it this way. Historically, the way that Just Faith was designed, that the opening retreat happened sometime between weeks 2 and 5. That's historically how it was designed, that, every group kind of had a couple of meetings to get used to each other and to learn who was in the group before you actually did the opening retreat. Because logistically across the country we were getting feedback that said, if you're saying this is an opening retreat, it really should be at the very beginning. We did, in fact, move it to the beginning of the program. But having said that, if logistically that is going to create problems for you to do the opening retreat very first thing, then I would say you have the flexibility, and we know it works, to shift that to between weeks 2 and 5, if that helps.
That helps tremendously. Thank you, because I saw that and I was kind of wigging out a little bit because I'm backing up the time thinking, and we have a holiday weekend in the midst of that too. So I was kind of like, oh dear. So yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure. We know it works between weeks 2 and 5 because that's how it was for the first 15 years of Just Faith's life, And so it's been a recent change that it's been moved up to the very first thing. But feel free not to panic yourself and to shift it down if you need to a little bit. Any other questions? I just had somebody chime in with a note saying that they noticed that Anthony said he noticed that I had a video with a webinar that we recorded last month on successful midsummer promotion. Even though it's titled Successful Midsummer Promotion, if you are struggling with promotion, I would strongly encourage you to go back to that resource page on Just Faith Ministries website. I'm going to go back to the main page right now and show you where it's at. Well, actually, I'm going to do the log on process again for Linda, and then I'll take you to that page. So if you just come to your computer and Linda, and you want to get to the Just Faith Ministries document, you just simply type into your browser, like you would to go to any website, JustFaith.org. It will bring up the main page of our website. And then over here in the right-hand corner, it says log in. You'll click on that. And down here on the lower left-hand side, it gives you it says to enter your username and email and your password. This is the one that you're going to set up for yourself. You might not be seeing my screen, but I'm going to see if we can get you back. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see my screen again. I'm putting in my username and password. And what's going to come up for you is this rectangle right here that says JustFaith. And you just click right in the middle of that. And once you click in the middle of that, that is where all of your program documents are. So you can scroll down and get any document that you want. To get the document, you just have to go to the right-hand side here. So this is JustFaith Session 3. Over here is the download for that. And you click on that, and it comes down here, the PDF, and then you bring it up. I know that looks a little, it may look a little funny, but if you want to offline, Linda, if you want to do some practice with me, I'm happy to help you in that way.
Well, I've taken notes, and seeing it a second time, it's clearer. So I think I'll do it for myself.
Okay.
And then say, oh, I see how it goes.
You see how it goes, sure. So to get back to Anthony's question, to go onto the JustFaith website again, and if you click here on Engage Programs, and on the, I'm sorry, that's not right. Click on Explore Resources, Anthony.
I think it's Alfonso. I'm Anthony.
Oh, okay. Well, and I thought somebody typed me a note that said they were wondering about that midsummer promotion.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, if you click on Explore Resources here, on the left-hand side is Facilitator Training. Okay, and maybe that was Donna. My colleague is saying that was Donna. When you click on this Facilitator Training page, the first thing it offers is any webinars that we have coming up. This one, of course, will go away because we're doing the last webinar that we have scheduled right now. But under here, there is just a whole slew of videos that you can access and webinars that we've done.
Good.
Some of them, Linda, this will be helpful. How to log into the JustFaith website. This is a 2 to 3 minute tutorial that Susan and I did. How to invite group participants to create their own online accounts. These are both 3 minutes.
I love it. That's good.
And then there's some short videos, but down here is JustFaith Ministry Successful Midsummer JustFaith and Engaging Spirituality Promotion. As I was saying, even though that's titled Midsummer Promotion, the tips in that particular webinar are useful tips no matter what time of the year it is. So if you are looking for the primary ways that we know people across the country get people into their groups, I would suggest that after I hang up with all of you this evening, that sometime in the next week you view that webinar, and maybe you'll find some new, fresh ideas about how to tap into folks in your congregations and parishes. So with that, we are at the 7 o'clock hour. I want to thank you all so much for your willingness to facilitate the Just Faith programs for us. We at Just Faith Ministries, the board, the staff, we all know that Just Faith doesn't happen without all of you folks. So we're tremendously grateful for your willingness to facilitate. And as I said, don't hesitate to contact me or Susan Chapman. And either one of us can help you, maneuver through this facilitation. So thank you again, and God bless you on your work.